you can draw this in Procreate. During this tutorial, we are going to create this lovely, cheerful candy house. Of course, I will be guiding you through all the steps, so you don't need any experience with drawing or with Procreate at all. Just check out these results from the previous tutorials as proof. Or these amazing results from my friends at Patreon, where you can find even more Procreate tutorials. For this tutorial, all you need is a canvas of 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels, a color palette which I have linked in the description, and some brushes from my treasure chest which you can find at freefromflow.com. And the name says it, it's totally free. So if you are ready, let's get started. First thing we'll do is change the color of our background. You can do that by going to the layer menu, then click background color. And then let's set it to this first color in the first row. And I will get started with our little house. We'll start on layer 1. And for the color, we are going to use this first color in the second row. And first, let's create a square or rectangle. You can do that by going to the selection tool. That's the S-shaped ribbon. And you can use a rectangle here at the bottom and turn on color fill. You'll know that it's turned on if it's blue. Then let's just create a square, rectangle thing, something like this. Then click the S-shaped ribbon again to get out of that menu. Let me zoom out just a little bit so I can see the edges. And now let's make sure that this house, it doesn't really look like a house, this square, that it's centered on our canvas. You have to click the little arrow here. Then make sure that snapping is turned on. And then you can move it around and make sure that you see that vertical orangey line and place it about here. And then tap the arrow again. So far, so good. Now let's make a triangle. We'll do that on a new layer. So go to the layer menu and click the plus. And for the triangle, let's go and grab, where is it? The monoline, which you can find, the monoline brush, which you can find under calligraphy. And for the color, we will use this third color in the third row. Now we are going to use the quick shape tool. You can do that by just drawing a triangle like this and then hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And then you can tap edit shape and just make sure that these ends, let's make them go over the edge and go for something like this, and then drag in the color to fill your shape. Now we're going to create another new layer. So go to the layer menu, tap the plus, and then for the color, go and grab the second color in the third row. Then go to the selection tool again, have it set to rectangle and have color fill turned on. And now let's make like a bar over here, something like this. Then go to the layer menu, let's tap the plus for another new layer, and here we are going to use the Symmetry Tool. You can turn it on by going to the wrench, then go to Canvas, then turn on Drawing Guide, then tap Edit Drawing Guide, and here at the bottom you can turn on Symmetry. Now with Symmetry turned on, whatever you draw on the left side will also show up on the right side and vice versa. Then just tap done. And now we are going to create candy canes. We will use the round chalk brush for that. You can find it in the treasure chest brush pack, the round chalk. And for the color, we will use the fourth color in the second row. And you can either make a candy cane on the right side or on the left side. For some reason, I always prefer working on the left side. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller, perhaps 50%. And then let's just draw a candy cane shape. So that's a long line, and then we have like a bend right here. It's a pretty basic shape. And since it's a bit more challenging than the triangle and the square, that's why it's so handy that we already have the other candy cane on the other side, so you only have to draw it once. I feel like I might want to squish the bottom part of the house a little bit. We can easily do that by going to layer 1, then go to the move tool, Then set it to freeform and pull this up a little bit. And then of course the candy canes, they need to go a little bit smaller as well. First, let's take this step by step. First, we need to tap layer 4. Then go to the arrow up here. Then tap uniform. Drag this lower right handle to make them a little bit smaller. And you'll have to center them on this blue line or yellow line. Something like this. I actually feel like we can take them apart a little bit. Now to do that, we'll have to select one of them by going to the S shape ribbon. You can turn off color fill and you can use the rectangular selection to select one. Then go to the arrow, that's the move tool. And go to the side a little bit. Just make sure that it's aligned with the other one. Now we go to the layer again, to the layer menu, then again to move. Now you can move them both and make sure that they are centered. These are just tiny little tweaks that you can do if things are off when you're drawing your house. But perhaps your house is already looking great, so then you don't have to do this. Now tap the arrow. So this is only necessary if the proportions are a bit off. If you want to change things, then this is the way to do it. Now let's add a door. We are going to layer 1, then we'll click the plus for a new layer. Then for the color, we are going to use this 6th color in the second row. And let's use the round chalk again. Let's also turn on symmetry. Now the way to do that on this layer is by tapping the layer and then turning on drawing assist. Now you can see that this layer is assisted and symmetry is turned on here. Now let's just make a rounded door shape and color it in. You don't have to be super tidy here near the bottom because we are going to cover that with snow later. I do feel like it has gotten a little bit too big. Now, a way to fix that again is by going to the arrow, set it to freeform, make it a little bit thinner, and then make sure that you place it in the center again. Go a little bit lower. There, that's perfect. Then just tap the layer menu and let's make another layer on top of layer 2. So first tap layer 2, then tap the plus. And now we are going to make a round window shape here above. So draw a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. Then go to edit shape, place it in the center, and then just use the brush to color it in. Now we'll make a new layer on top of this one. So first tap the plus. Now we are going to switch to this color. That's the 5th color in the second row. First we are going to make a circle here at the top. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle and make sure that it's a bit smaller than the window that we have just created. Color it in, and go to the arrow, make sure that it's centered and it's overlapping the top of the roof a little bit. Now we're going to make a layer that is underneath this one. So first tap layer 6, then tap the plus. And for the color, we will use this one over here, the 3rd one on the 1st row. We are going to add some snow to the roof. We're going to follow that angle, but you can make it a little bit wobbly. Because snow is a little bit wobbly. Well, not really wobbly, but you would see these wobbles when it's on a roof like this. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller here, 33%. And it's dropping down here. It's like almost like an icicle. And we're not using the symmetry tool here because we want some variation here. Then on the other side as well, give that roof a nice cover of snow. And right now our snow is blue, but later we will add the white. For now, it's just easier to see on our light background. Because later we will be working on the background as well. But for now, it's still pretty light and boring. Let's go down here again, make a little like drop. Snow dropping down. Give it a nice thick cover. Now let's add more candy. Well, you can't really see it's candy yet, but go to layer 7. Grab that pink color again. And also let's turn on symmetry right now. So tap the layer, turn on drawing assist. And then make a little circle here. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. And then color these circles in. And let's add even more candy here. Let's go and grab this color over here. That's the 5th color in the 3rd row. We're still using the round chalk brush. We're going to make like a little egg shape here. As if it's Easter. Then the next one, it's the 6th color in the 3rd row. We're making another egg over here. And now the base of our house is here. We have all the elements and we can start adding textures and more decoration. Let's start with the green area with the wood, but first let's also turn off that drawing guide. Go to the wrench, then to canvas, turn off that drawing guide so we don't have that annoying line in the center anymore. Now let's go to the green layer, layer 2 with the triangle, tap the layer and turn on alpha lock. Now we won't be able to paint outside of this shape. All our paint will end up on this green triangle. For our brush, let's use the Is It Grunge brush. And for the color, grab the 4th color in the 3rd row. Now, the opacity is set to 100% and the size is at 46%. And just cover this area for some texture. Then let's switch to the spackle brush right here and let's add little light green spackles. We'll use the 2nd color in the 3rd row. The opacity of this brush is at 100% and the size is at 55%. And let's just cover it with these light green spackles. Then let's go over with some darker spackles, the 3rd color in the 3rd row. So now we have a nice base texture. Now we're going to switch to the fine liner brush, also part of the treasure chest. We'll switch to the 4th color in the 3rd row. The opacity is at 100% and let's set the size to 10%. And now let's make some vertical lines as if there are planks here. You don't have to be super tidy about it. You can add some extra lines. You can also use the quick shape tool, make a line, then hold your pen in place. Tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly vertical line. That's handy if you tend to make diagonal lines, for instance, instead of vertical ones. So just some lines as if we have some wood texture here. So some extra lines next to it. Until you feel like you have a nice woody texture. Then we are going over with the round chalk brush. We are going to add some shadow. So let's go over here. Light is coming from above, so this candy here and also the snow is blocking the light and casting a shadow on the house. And I'm using very little pressure with my pen. If you are using a pressure sensitive pen, then if you press lightly, you will get less paint from your brush. I'll also add a little shadow underneath the window here. Doesn't look like a window yet, but it'll look like it later. A little rounded shadow, just following that shape of the window. Also add some shadow over here next to the candy cane. So something like this is fine. Now let's move to this green like beam. We have it over here. It's layer 3. Let's first turn on alpha lock so we won't be painting outside of the shape. Let's go and use the spackle brush again. And we'll use this first color in the first row. Gonna spackle all over it. Let's also spackle with a darker green, the third color in the third row, for some nice variation. Then we'll use the fine liner brush again for some wood texture. Again, let's grab this third color this time, which we already had selected. And now let's make horizontal lines, which aren't that wobbly. You can use the quick shape tool, tap one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly horizontal line. And you can do that multiple times. You can also make it thicker in some areas. Now let's add a line here at the bottom. And just add some woody texture, not too much. Something like this is perfectly fine. Now let's move to our orangey-like square. Again, turn on alpha lock so we won't be painting outside of the shape. Then let's first grab the Is It Grunge brush. We'll grab this red. That's the second color in the second row. Now let's just go over first, adding some base texture. Then we'll move to the spackle brush. And we'll grab this lighter color, the first color in the second row. And let's just go over and add some speckles. And add some spackles. Now we'll grab the third color in the second row and we'll use the fine liner brush again to add some of that wood texture. So make horizontal lines. Hold one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly horizontal line. And try to keep like the same distance between these lines, between the main lines, so that the planks are about the same size. Of course, you don't have to be super precise about it, but just somewhat precise. So just a few lines, then try to make, well, some of them a little bit thicker, add some irregularities, some more horizontal lines to create that wood texture look. I think this is enough. Then let's go to the dark noise brush. And let's grab the second color and the second row. And let's add some shadow. For instance, here underneath that beam, underneath these candy canes, these candies here, some rounded shadow here as well. Underneath or next to this candy cane. And perhaps a little bit behind these like eggs. This is looking great. Now let's move to the candy canes. Let's go to layer 4, turn off drawing assist because I don't want them to look exactly the same. Then turn on alpha lock so we won't be able to paint outside of the shape. Then go to the round chalk brush and switch, or don't switch because we already have the right color. We need this red, that second color in the second row. And let's just add a pattern to our candy canes. Following that shape, make these lines a little bit rounded because the candy cane is rounded as well. It's a 3D shape. And just create this pattern all the way to the bottom. Then we'll move to the other one. Just make the pattern slightly different so that it's not an exact copy of the one on the left. Something like this. I want to add some texture. We are going to do that by using the spackle brush. Then first we'll use this first color in the second row. And we'll use it to add some light here at the top. So just focus on the top area on both candy canes. Then we'll switch to the fourth color in the second row for some shadow as well. We'll do that over here at the bottom and then the left side of this candy cane, and here we'll do it on the right side. Then let's switch to the fine liner brush and go and grab this color over here. It's the 8th color in the second row, and then add some lines following that pattern to add even more interest to our candy canes. Until you have followed all of these lines. Now let's move to our window here. Let's tap layer 6, then make a new layer on top by clicking the plus. Then let's move to the round chalk brush again. And for the color, let's use this color, the 3rd color in the first row. Then make a round shape. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. Then color it in with the brush. And using the move tool, that's the little arrow, you can move it around and make sure that it's centered in that pink circle. Now let's remove a part. We'll use the eraser tool for that. Make sure that you have it set to the round chalk. Let's make it a little bit bigger, 10%. First make a vertical line. And also with the eraser, you can use the quick shape tool. And if you tap one finger on your screen when using that, you can make it snap to a perfectly horizontal or vertical line. Now go to the layer again, tap it, use alpha lock, and then go to the dark noise brush. Then grab this blue over here, that's the 6th color in the 3rd row. Now let's add some shadow here, or some darkness at the top. By the way, the brush is at 100% opacity and the size is at 9%. Just some shadow over here. Let's make the brush even bigger, 20%. And we can also switch to a lighter blue. Let's grab this one, the second color in the first row, and add some light here at the bottom. So now we have some nice color variation on that window. Then let's move to layer 6. That's the pink of the window. Tap it, use alpha lock. And first let's go to this color. That's the 7th color in the second row. Make the brush a bit smaller again, 9%. And go along that bottom area here. Well, it's not really the bottom area, it's actually the top, but the underside of the top. Also here, the underside of that horizontal line. And the underside here. Now we're going to switch to this color, the 4th color in the 2nd row, for an even darker shadow here. It's really giving that window some depth. Just along the lower edges. Now let's move to the door. Tap layer 5. Then tap the plus for a new layer. And use clipping mask with this layer. Tap the layer, turn on clipping mask. Now it's clipped to the door, and whatever we paint on this layer 10, it will only show up on the door. For the brush, we will use the round chalk brush, and for the color, we will use this last color in the second row. And we are going to create an edge around our door. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit wobbly, because that's kind of the thing with this illustration, with this style. It's nice if it's a little bit wobbly. It gives some character to your candy house. So something like this is perfectly fine. Okay, perhaps we can use the eraser and remove a little bit over here. And now let's go back to that layer 5. Let's turn off drawing assist. We don't want symmetry anymore, but we do want alpha lock, so we won't be painting outside of the shape. First, let's grab the Is It Grunge brush. Then this dark pink, that's the 7th color in the second row. And just add some texture. Then move to the spackle brush. Grab the lighter pink. That's the 5th color in the second row. And add some lighter spackles too. And then let's move to the fine liner brush. Grab the dark pink, the 7th color in the second row. And let's add some wood texture. But this time we're making vertical lines. Then we'll switch to the dark noise brush. Let's grab this red, the 2nd color in the second row. And let's add a shadow here at the top. And then for an even darker shadow, we'll use this blue over here. That's the 7th color in the third row. Just make a slight edge here at the top. It nicely separates the door from, well, I'm not even sure what it's called, that white around the door, the doorway. In any case, it nicely separates it. Now let's make a new layer on top. By clicking the plus, let's grab the round chalk brush, then grab the 3rd color in the 3rd row. Now let's make some decoration. Now I think I know what it's called, but it's way too hard to pronounce, so I'm not even going to try it. But in Dutch, it's a krans. Just making some rounded circles, and in that way creating this donut-like shape with it's like a mutant donut with lots of wobbles. And then once you got the mutant donut, turn on alpha lock on the layer so you won't be able to paint outside of the shape. And then let's move to the lighter green. That's the 2nd color in the 3rd row. And with light pressure, add some lighter touches to the, let's just call it a mutant donut. And since the light is coming from above, I'm adding the most light green to the top area here and to this top area here. That's like the top area of the lower half. Then we'll move to the dark green. That's the 4th color in the 3rd row. And then we'll add some like shadow here at the bottom. And some here as well. And then you can make the brush a little bit smaller, 13%, to just add some little dabs to add some interest. It's like sprinkles to our mutant donut. Then let's also use the dark noise brush. And then this color over here, the 5th color in the 1st row. And go over the top area to add some like snow. Just a little bit. And here as well. Then we just need some berries. Let's use the round chalk brush again. Let's use this 2nd red here, the 2nd color in the 2nd row. And just tap in a few places. For some berries, let's also use this color. This color. Actually, the 6th color in the 2nd row. For some pink berries as well. And let's also use that very dark red, the 4th color in the 2nd row. Now what we need is a shadow on the door actually, because this mutant donut is also casting a shadow on the door. Let's grab the dark noise brush again. And let's use this red actually. No, and let's use this color over here, the 7th color in the 2nd row. And add a little bit of shadow here underneath the crayons. And let's also use that blue, the 7th color in the 3rd row. For some darker shadows here. Now let's move to the candy. We have it on layer 7. Let's turn off drawing assist. But let's turn on alpha lock. Now first let's use dark noise with this 5th color in the 1st row. And let's add a little bit of like snow to the tops of these little eggs. Then let's move to these candy things. We're going to use the fine liner brush to add a little pattern there. First, let's use this red over here. That's the 2nd color in the 2nd row. And let's start in the center and make an arch line outward. And then just color it in by hand. Then let's do the same here. We'll go downwards. It's like a twisted triangle. And do it here as well, from the inside to the outside. These 2 rounded lines, and then color it in. Then let's switch to this pink. That's the 6th color in the 2nd row. Start here in the center again. And make another twisted triangle. And we'll go here, make another one. It's also a bit like a V shape, but twisted. Make one over here. Then let's move to the 4th color in the 2nd row. Then we'll go outwards like this. Then over here, another arch, and color it in. And then over here, it's just 2 bended lines from the inside to the outside. Then let's use the 7th color in the 2nd row as well for a final line for our candies. One over here, one here. And you really don't have to be super tidy. Like I said, arch line upward here, color it in, and then it's time for some texture here. First, let's go and grab the dark noise brush. Then we'll switch to this color over here. That's the 5th color in the first row. And let's go on top of this candy. Let's make the brush even bigger. Let's go for 23%. And go on top of the candy, top area. And here as well to add the light snowy touch. Some nice texture. Then at the bottom, I would like to use blue. Let's grab this blue over here. That's the 6th color in the 3rd row. And on the underside, we'll add a little blue touch. And then just like with the candy canes, we'll add some white lines now. So go to the fine liner brush, then to this color, the 8th color and the 2nd row. And let's just follow these lines of these shapes that we have just created. Now, they are a bit more challenging than the lines on the candy canes. But fortunately we have the undo if you mess it up. And of course you don't have to be super tidy about it. All you have to do is follow the outlines until you have something that looks like this. Now before we can work on the snow on the roof, I'd like to add the background. So let's first create a new layer. Let's click the plus and drag it all the way to the bottom so that it's behind our house. Now let's use the round chalk brush. And for the color, let's use this 2nd color in the 1st row. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 30%. And let's first add some snow here. Let's make the brush even bigger, 75%. Let's color it all in. Just like this. And then let's add a bit like tree shapes, but really basic trees. Or just like some cones. It's a bit like triangular shapes, but it's rounded because of the brush. Where you really all you need to do is create some like these triangles. Then we'll make another layer on top. So go to the layer menu, tap the plus, and for the color use the next one. That's the 3rd color in the 1st row. Let's make a shape here first. Then another one over here. And make it a bit flat at the bottom. Then one over here. Then switch to, well, first make a new layer by tapping the plus. Then switch to the next color. That's the 4th color in the 1st row. Now let's make a shape over here. We're layering them on top of each other. Small one over here. Like a really basic pine tree shape. And another one here. These really basic pine tree shapes. Then let's make a layer on top of all the others for some more snow. So go to the top, then tap the plus, and then for the color, go and grab this 5th color in the 1st row. And now let's make some snow that is covering our house a little. And also these little eggs and a door. Make some wobbles here. As if it's standing on a little hill here. A hill of snow. Color it all in here. Just like that. I just want the trees in the back to move up a little. So go to the lower layers. Select them, all 3, by sliding to the right. Then go to the move tool, that little arrow. And move them up just a little bit. I do see a little gap over here, so go to that layer, that's layer 13. grab the third color over here and fix it. Now let's go back to layer 15 and let's use the spackle, the stipple 2.0, the stipple brush. And then let's use this fifth color and the first row. The opacity is at 100% and the size is at 16%. And now let's go along the edge of the snow and add like this, all this extra snow. As if the wind is blowing, the snow is coming up. A nice extra snowy touch. So just along the edge, then grab the second color and the first row and go over these trees a little bit as well. Just make sure that you don't go over the house with this color, just over these trees. Now let's move to the snow on the roof. That's layer 8. Tap it and then use Alpha Lock. Now for the brush, go to the round chalk brush. And for the color, use this color over here. That's the 8th color and the second row. And then just glaze over the top area of that snowy roof to lighten it up. And then the other side. And just make sure that you leave that lower part, leave that to be bluish. Because that's a little bit of the shadow of the snow. Now for a final touch, let's add some lights to our house. We're going to do that on a layer that is underneath the snow layer, but on top of the green triangle layer. So we can just actually tap layer 9, then tap the plus, then grab the fine liner brush. Where is it? There it is. And for the color, let's just grab a pure black. Double tap here at the bottom for pure black for our line of lights. And let's also use the Symmetry Tool actually. Tap the layer, turn on Drawing Assist so Symmetry is turned on. Then let's start here at the top and make these arched lines towards that snow. And then to here, where we don't see it anymore, here we'll need to attach it because it's a little bit further away. And now let's make like these little rectangular shapes. We need one here as well. So simple rectangles. Now we are going to attach some lights to these. Let's do it on a layer underneath this one. So first tap layer 9, then tap the plus for a new layer. And then let's first grab this blue. That's the 6th color in the 3rd row. And let's add these little lights. And one over here. We'll start with blue lights. Then let's switch to pink. Let's use this color over here. That's the 7th color in the 2nd row. Just make these basic shapes here. One over here. Every time next to the blue one. And then finally, let's create green ones. Let's use the 2nd color in the 3rd row for that. One over here. And one over here. I just want to make that blue one a little bit bigger. So let's grab the blue again. Make this light a little bit bigger. There you go. Now all the scene needs is a little snow. Let's make a layer on top of all the others, all the way at the top. And then let's grab this color over here. It's the 8th color in the second row. And let's use the round chalk brush. Now make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 20%. And make some random snow on your canvas. You can play around with the brush size. Right now it's a little bit small. You can also make it bigger. For some snow around the house. But also some in front of it, of course. So in some random spots, add some snow. Also in front here. If you want to take it to the next step and animate your house as well, then go and watch the animation video that we have created. I will walk you through the process of making it snow, like really snow in the animation, and how you can make these lights go on and off. And once you have enough snow, you're done. I hope you have enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you did, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to share your result on social media, of course. And if you do, if you share it on Instagram, then tag me in the image, not just in the description. That way I will be able to find your work and perhaps we'll see it in the next video. I would like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the next You Can Draw This video tutorial.